Today's conference call is titled, Are You Listening? One of the most important skills our dealership teams need to develop is the art of listening. I am confident all of us at one time or another had our wife or significant other ask a question if we were listening. Many of the times I've been asked that question, frankly, the answer is no. Now, I don't try to cover up. I know a lot of people might. They might say, oh, yeah, I know exactly what you say. But history would show me, my wife would go, all right, then what did I say? And I'd be on the spot and wouldn't necessarily answer that question. But the truth is, every key performance indicator in the dealership requires the skill of listening first to our customer. No matter what dealership department you consider, it must be listening to your customer or the results are poor. Can you imagine if your service advisor had poor listening skills and they're trying to communicate on a repair order what their concerns are? The tech will have a challenge trying to sort through it, and everybody loses money in customer satisfaction. One of my favorite examples in this is when technician or advisor comes up and they write things like this on a repair order. Customer states loose door handle. Well, then the technician gets that repair order. He starts trying to sort through it. Imagine the technician coming back to the advisor in that example and goes, which door handle was it? We got 8 of them. Was it the inside handle, outside handle, front, rear, right, left? So really the technician, I don't know, the guy just said he had a loose door handle. The technician goes through all of them trying to figure out if there's a concern with the one that is now a mystery. Or customer states rattle. How do we get that? Rattle where? So the technician starts driving, I don't know, it's just a rattle. Technician starts driving it around, listening for noises that may not even be happening at that time of the drive. We need to listen. I know and understand the concern. I know one actual experience, technician came up to me one time and said, I don't need any trouble today. I know this is probably going to end up in your office anyway. You go find out how to fix this. And the repair order said, customer states, car starts throbbing at 35 miles an hour. Well, how in the world do we fix that? What about a salesperson that's so concerned about the oldest vehicle he can get a larger commission on, they fail to listen what the customer is seeking in a vehicle, what their need is. Both outcomes are so obvious, yet it is so common in today's dealerships and their staffs. The best practice dealerships also choose to listen to their customers. Ask them what we can do to be better. How can we improve our business? What was your experience like? The customer satisfaction indexes, almost all of them have, did the dealership contact you and ask you how the repair went, how the vehicle is, how your experience was? One of the big things about that is we don't use that information very well. My last fixed ops position, I had 2 people every evening called customers. Anyone that came in to fixed ops got a phone call. And we had a simple 5-question thing that went into what their experience was like. And for several years, I called every one of them that said they didn't have a perfect experience with us. And what I did with that information was, I think, wonderful. I didn't just call them to say I cared or to make some kind of impression. I wanted to get to the bottom of what we were doing wrong. You see, I started seeing patterns, like why does it take an hour and a half to do an oil change? You know, I really couldn't answer that question. So I started looking into it, found out the scheduling was poor. Once we got behind, then we were behind the rest of the day, and the customers were waiting. A lot of them showed up at the same time, right at 8 o'clock. We might have 5. So our longer wait times took place immediately, and throughout the day, we never got caught up. So wouldn't it make sense to listen to the customers and actually change the way we do it? We can have some filters close by instead of having them walk to the parts counter, inventory them, pull the top off a box or check mark on an RO and put the oil and the filter on at that time. Eliminated the parts wait. We looked at scheduling. We looked at processing the vehicle through the shop. How are we tracking these waiters? Do we have the wait time using when the repair order was made? All stuff we can learn from the customers if we listen. If we make changes based on what people are telling us. When we do things like this, understand when you're listening to people, make solid eye contact in every discussion and intensely listen to what they're saying to you. And if you just listen to them, that's not going to accomplish much. It'll accomplish a lot. But it won't be the total answer. You have to respond to what they're saying and then implement ways that it can be changed. We also need to listen to our staff. You know, I find it amazing. I've seen several examples. I visit dealerships all across the country where the staff knows things that need to be improved, yet they're intimidated to go to the management. It might be a member of management that needs to be discussed, and they're afraid the dealer, when they get involved, will put them in the middle of it, costing them their job or untold grief in retaliation from the manager. In these examples, nothing gets brought to the dealer's attention, and the results may remain negative, and employee retention becomes a problem. You going to hang around in an environment like that? No one wants to remain in a job where management won't pay attention to suggestions on way they can improve performance. In this, the best practice is to have regular one-on-one visits with the staff and encourage open, honest discussions that are confidential about areas in the dealership that need focused on. When we go through these dealerships, it is amazing how many times we hear, no one notices, you did a good job. They just walk by or walk through and don't say hello. Don't say, how are you doing today? If you know what their dog's name is and the names of their children, or casual conversations, you're doing pretty good. Now, when we talk about listening and developing the skills, I challenge you to do a self-evaluation on how good a listener you are. Go ahead right now. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Next time you're with your wife or husband or your significant other. Ask them to give an evaluation where you stand. Now, those of you with kids, it's going to get even tougher. Don't forget to ask them. Hey, son. Hey, daughter. How well do you think I listened to you on a scale 1 to 10? How about your coworkers, your employees? What would they put down? Now, I'm not asking you to average the numbers. You might have a significant other say you're a 2. And you might have a coworker say you're a 10 for the exact reason they have to live with you. You might get a real honest answer from a kid. You might find it interesting to compare the numbers. Become a student of being the best listener possible. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.